All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA playoff video. In this video, we're going to recap a couple games from this weekend. We're going to talk about the 76ers versus the New York Knicks, the Spurs versus the Timberwolves, the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Detroit Pistons, and the inevitable Oklahoma City versus Los Angeles Lakers series that might end sooner rather than later. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have an opinion, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So, here we are once again. We're going to talk about a bunch of games. I'm going to try to keep it short. I really like the way I did it last weekend, and we're going to keep it the same this weekend. We're going to bounce around a little bit. I'll try to make it very clear what game we're talking about and when it happened so you guys can stay up to date. Let's, however, start with this series, the New York Knicks versus the Philadelphia 76ers. And I just want to start off the top here because this one I want to keep kind of short. Uh, the Sixers lost this one. They lost this series in an embarrassing fashion. You take the Celtics, who were looked at as championship hopefuls, um, to a raucous series, to a really good series, and then the Sixers roll up to this Knicks series with a lot of hope, with a lot of ambition. Maybe not the talent to take on the Knicks, but like the guts and the all the stuff you need to win a series. And they lose this series 4-0. And I do want to talk about game three and game four sort of interchangeably because they were very similar to each other. But I I'm just I think everybody's sort of confused about how the Sixers team beat the Celtics because the Celtics are obviously the better team. They obviously were, and this series would have been way better if it was Knicks versus Celtics. But somehow the Sixers did it, and they should be very proud of that moment, even though it's not where you wanted to be at the end of this. At the end of the day, the end of both series, you ended up going home regardless of the outcome. Um, but like it was sort of like let's roll back here. Let's take a walk back so there can be some context applied to this. So the Knicks win game three, 108 to 94. And then they played the next game, game four. The Knicks win the game in the series these both in Philadelphia, by the way. These are both in Philadelphia. 144 to the Philadelphia 76ers, 114. Um, and what happened in Philly was it didn't even sound like a Philly home game. It sounded like a Knicks home game. For those who don't know, you can literally take a train from New York to Philly, and it will cost you almost nothing, and it's very easy to get to Philly from New York. I assume almost everybody that was a Knicks fan in New York made the trip down, and that place was loud. That place was loud for New York, and you saw a lot of like Philly fans. There was not a lot of cheering going on. There was not a lot of, and there was nothing to cheer for at the end of the day because these Philadelphia 76ers stunk. Um, to get to game three, this game was there was some Landry Shamet, which is never good when you're playing the Knicks. If Landry Shamet has a good game, you're in trouble. Keep that in mind for this game and game four. 15 points for Landry Shamet, 2 of 3 from three, um, 3 rebounds. Really good game for Landry Shamet. And in this game three, the Sixers were not shooting the three ball well. It was pretty bad, and it was 28%. Probably looks a little bit better in the numbers than it did actually watching it. Watching it, it was a disaster. Um, the Sixers did attempt a hack of Mitchell Robinson in this game. Mitchell Robinson, a very bad free throw shooter. They tried that in this game. I think it was the first time they did it in the series. Yeah, worked a little bit. Um, didn't do much to solve the problems that they had. And I have this note for game three, and it becomes very apparent in game four as well. And there's a tough conversation that needs to be had eventually here. And I'm going to start it right now. And you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Tyrese Maxey for the Sixers. I've said it for like 2 postseason runs now, and I said it last series, and I've said it this series as well. The shot selection, it's just bad. He's it's not number one guy shot selection. It's just not. Um, and this is a theme for game 3 and game 4. Either he has a really low scoring, high efficiency game, or he has a really low efficiency game, high scoring. He can't find this medium that he needs to find if he wants to be a star player, like a real like star player, like a guy you're gonna build a team around. And it's sort of sad because like right now at this moment, I do like Tyrese Maxey a lot. Obviously, you keep him. This isn't a conversation of like, do you trade Tyrese Maxey? No, you keep Tyrese Maxey. He's a high volume scorer, and that's what you need sometimes just to keep you in games. It's helpful. I would be more optimistic about VJ Edgecombe at this point because VJ has shown me things that Tyrese Maxey hasn't. And Tyrese Maxey's had some really high highs and there's some really low lows. But the shot selection and the shot diet and all the things that you would want from a star player, Tyrese doesn't have. And maybe Tyrese can be a Clay Thompson to somebody's Steph Curry. Or, VJ Edgecombe could potentially be Dwayne Wade. And Tyrese Maxey can just be a supplementary scorer who isn't asked to do it all, who doesn't need to do it all. But if he gives you 35, you're like, damn, that's right. That's when we need it. He gives you 35 as your number one option. It's usually come with a bunch of turnovers, a bunch of, bad shots, and he gets these shots sometimes. I'm like, oh, he's there, he's right there. He just needs to put it in the basket, and it rims out. It hits the rim and bounces out. It's just it's not a type of thing that happens to number one players. And I I dare to say this, and I just had this thought. Tyrese Maxey is probably closer to like a Jalen Green than we're not comfortable saying. But like it's this young, dynamic guard who can like do a little bit of everything, score all three levels, you know, has some amazing highlights. And then like the postseason comes. And when you're asked to be the number one guy in the regular season versus the postseason, it's very different. That's what makes a guy like Joel Embiid, at least prime Joel Embiid, what he used to be, so fascinating because Joel Embiid played the way he wanted to play. He wanted to speed up, he speed up. He wanted to slow down, slow down. He had his moves, he had three ball, had at that time the athleticism. He was everything you needed. And this team is going to have to do a 180 from what it's been doing for the past 10 years now of building around a big man to building around a guard. And do you want to do that as the Sixers, as, Tyrese Maxey as your guy or VJ Edgecombe for that matter? I don't know. And to bring this around to somebody else on this team also, and we'll talk about what's next for the Sixers here in a moment. Um, Paul George, again, this is game 3. Um, had a really great first half. I think he had like what there was maybe 12 points in the first half. Okay, enough, right? No, I think he actually this is his final number. He had 15 points in the first half, and then Paul George proceeds to disappear. He disappeared. I don't know where Paul George went. He was replaced by George Paul once again. Don't know what happened to him. He's still on the money. He's still in the books for a lot of money, and you're gonna have to keep paying this guy. And I have a solution, but you're not gonna like it. Um, and there was an attempt in this game, game 3, to come back in this game, but it was too little, too late. And that's sort of the theme for the Sixers of the last couple seasons is it's too little, too late. Too early for some things, too late for others, and you're kind of strapped in with this roster at the moment. Um, I'm I'm still thinking about how they beat the the Celtics and how they got dog walked by this Knicks team. Um, they got dog walked by a Knicks team who in this game 3. Karl Anthony Towns only had 8 points, 12 rebounds, sort of a below average game for Karl, considering the really good playoff run he's had already. Yeah, Josh Hart 12 points, Mikal Bridges 23, the Pennsylvania native, Jalen Brunson 33. The Knicks beat the Sixers without OG Anunoby, their best defender. Miles McBride in the starting lineup for him instead, 3 points in this game 3. And you had Landry Shamet at 15, like we talked about, and you lost. I don't want to say you lost to a depleted Knicks team because they have like five, no, four really borderline or actual all-star guys. Um, but this is one where you're like, should have won this one. If the 76ers would have locked in at just like maybe like a quarter earlier, this maybe would have been a different game in a different series. But they lost the first game in Philly, and I do want to move on to game four, the actual end game. They lost game three, and it felt they couldn't get out of their own heads, and it didn't help that in game four, the the Knicks just came out and beat them easily. Easily. They beat them easily. 144 to the Philadelphia 76ers 114. It's like Philly just didn't show up. Nobody showed up for this team, unfortunately. And the Knicks just rained threes down. They tied the record for most threes in a quarter in a playoff game. They almost broke it. There was like two chances they had to break it. They didn't break it. Landry Shamet again just blew up, 12 points. It doesn't sound like a lot, but those were like all in succession. It was back to back to back to back. And then Karl-Anthony Towns, 17 points. Josh Hart, 17. Mikal Bridges, 12. Jalen Brunson, 22. Miles McBride, 25. All playing less than 30 minutes. And for the game, they shot 57% from three. And the 76ers shot 23. Nobody could buy a shot. Nobody could make a shot. And they took Joel Embiid out quite early in this game. He didn't play a lot. 28 minutes, 24 points. Tyrese Maxey, 17, 6 of 16 from field goal, 1 of 7 from three. And they got jumped. They got jumped. And there was no looking back. And they did the little like moment before they cut back to the actual game where Nick Nurse was talking to his Philadelphia 76ers, his guys. And he was like, guys, we just need to play harder. And that's all he could say. That's all he could say. There was nothing he could say that was like inspiring or like actually accurate to the game. He was just like, just play harder. And it was actually kind of sad because this isn't Nick Nurse's fault at all. This isn't. It isn't Nick Nurse's fault. This is just a team that, again, was too late, too early. Um, beat. I guess you could pat yourself on the back and say we beat the Celtics. Sure. But Paul George, 7 points, not gonna cut it. You're paying him like north of $30 million. Uh-uh. Joel Embiid, 24. He was out there. He tried. He was 8 of 8, 2 of 2 from three, and 8 of 8 a field goal. 4 assists, 5 rebounds. Again, the last Sixer standing is always Joel Embiid. Man, oh man. Moving on here. Do I have any? I mean, I have notes for this game. Knicks raining threes. Miles McBride cooked really well. Jalen Brunson had a shot in Paul George's face. Paul George is used to that view. Little point guard shooting a three in his face. He's used to that. Cat like fell on his back and he like blew his back out. I think he's okay. I haven't heard anything, so he must be okay. And my last note of this series, and I think it's very poignant, is Knicks decimate the Sixers. Maxi can't get it going. Sixers are cooked. And the Knicks get their first sweep since 1999. Yeah, the Knicks haven't swept anybody since 1999. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. What's next for the Sixers, you might ask? I don't know. Um, I can give my Paul George solution though. I know you hate to hear it. It's probably not a great idea, but you kind of have to do it. You gotta waive Paul George. Paul George cannot be on this team. He's eating up too much money to do absolutely nothing. To add on top of that, he got suspended at the middle of the year for whatever reason there was, taking PEDs, taking steroids, whatever it was. That can't happen. I'm not paying you north of 25, $30 million to get suspended for something silly like that. And you need to free up that money, go do something else. Maybe perhaps also trade Joel Embiid. I mean, he's not healthy, but at least he kind of sort of played this season and this series and last series too. Like he kind of sort of played, and maybe this is your last chance to sell really high on Joel. Just another thought. The future is Maxi and Edgecombe. Outside of that, I don't know. I don't know what you're holding on for. You got Bona, sure. I mean, like Justin Edwards, Dominic Barlow, Johnny Bruni, Dalen Terry. Like, I don't know what you're holding out for. Um, Marjan Beauchamp's on this team. Oh my God. Okay. Um, I would say consider all your options if you're the Sixers. Consider all your options. Build around Maxi and VJ, and take it from there. I'm hopeful because Daryl Morey is the GM of this team that they will be somewhat competent in the offseason and in the draft and whatever other things they might be able to do to make this team better. But it starts with Paul George hopefully not being there. Joel Embiid, maybe his time in Philly is done, and you can actually move on now because throughout the regular season, you saw some really great things from Maxi, from VJ, and you might want to start the future now rather than wait for it to come to you because the future is already here. Um, so yeah, let's move on to. Do I want to talk about this game? Or this? I don't. Hold on. Let me give you the quick notes of this game because this game, although interesting, and this series has been very interesting, the next game after this one's way more interesting to me. Um, let's talk about Game Three of San Antonio Spurs versus Minnesota Timberwolves. San Antonio won this game 115 to the Minnesota Timberwolves 108. My notes for this game include Spurs jumped out to a very early lead in the first quarter of this game, like very early, like maybe less than like 4 game minutes played. It was a really early lead. Not Thomas Bryant, Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant hit two threes. Um, both teams managed to just screw each other over in the most hilarious ways possible. They both had the claw for every little bit of a lead that they could. And after the first half, you get into the second half. And during the second half, um, there was another scuffle of some variety. Not a fight, but just a little scuffle. Words were exchanged. In that scuffle, Dylan Harper goes down. Looked painful, but he was okay. Um, the Wolves managed not to let this one wiggle away from themselves. They worked their way back in the fourth quarter. The Wolves did something very interesting, which I don't want to say I haven't seen before, but they overwhelmed Wemby on the boards because what has been a theme throughout these playoffs is like these tip out rebounds, like the big not even collecting the rebound, they would just tip it out, like they just try to get it out so their team can get another possession, and they didn't let Wemby do that, and they didn't let Wemby even collect his own rebound. They had like three guys down there at all times, whether it was Gobert, McDaniels, Randall, or some other combination with Nas Reed in there as well, or Shaden. Is it Shaden? Terrence Shannon down there as well. Io DeSumo down there. They were just trying to make him think about his rebounding a bit more because usually, Wemby's the biggest guy on the floor. You don't have to worry about guys poking the ball away. But when you have like three sets of hands trying to poke the ball away from you and trying to like get their own team back the possession, it sort of felt overwhelming for Wemby. I don't want to say he was flustered, but like it was something unusual that I hadn't seen personally. Um, this all resulted in the game being tight towards the end, and in crunch time, the Wolves ran a great out of timeout play, but it was all for naught, and they lost, and the Spurs were up 2-1. Yeah, Spurs were up 2-1 at this point, with a chance to go up 3-1 in the next game. For this game, some quick numbers for you guys: Victor Wembanyama 39 points, 15 rebounds, looked dominant. Except that little blip that I mentioned previous. De'Aaron Fox 17, Devin Vassell. I always want to say Vassell. It's Vassell. 13 points. Stephon Castle 13. Carter Bryant 6. Keldon Johnson 11. We're going to talk about Keldon Johnson more here in a minute. And for the Wolves, Julius Randle 12. Jay McDaniel 17. Rudy Gobert 13. Mike Conley as a starter 0 points. Not great. Although he's just filling in for somebody else. Anthony Edwards, 32. And as every game has progressed throughout this series, um, from game one where Ant was questionable till he got upgraded to he's playing, he's looked way better every game, and he's looked more and more like the Anthony Edwards we're all accustomed to seeing. And that theme carries into game, I guess, four? Yeah, game four. Game four for this uh, Timberwolves San Antonio series uh, is what I want to talk about. This game was madness. Um, I do have a confession to make though. In this game, I missed part of this game because I was lied to. I was lied to by ESPN. They told me this game started at 8:30. It did not. It started like 8 o'clock, and I missed like the whole first quarter and the whole like portion of the second quarter. And when I tuned in, I heard them talking, like the announcers and everything. I heard them talking. I was like, "Yeah, he just got ejected. The Spurs are gonna have to play without him." And I was like, "Who got ejected? What happened?" And I was so confused. And then I was looking on the bench, and I was like, "Oh, there's no Wemby." I was like, "Wemby didn't get ejected, right?" And then I go look on socials, and Wemby got ejected. And if you want to see, middle right of your screen right here, um, Victor Wembanyama just like elbow karate chops Nas Reed in the neck, in the neck, and they threw his butt out. They threw him out. They said, "Nah, we're not doing that." Out. He played 12 minutes total of game time, 4 points, 4 rebounds, no blocks, no steals. Um, and as I alluded to in the other portion of this video, just moments ago, Victor Wembanyama was getting the ball poked away. He was getting grabbed. He was getting all this stuff. He looked a little bit overwhelmed in game three. And then in game four, he decided, I'm not having that anymore. Whack. Just whacks Nas Reed with his elbow right in the neck. I know that must have been painful. Um, so yeah, that's how I joined this game. Didn't get to watch a single lick of Victor Wembanyama, but don't fret. It was still a very good game. Without Victor Wembanyama, the Spurs ran very small. Um, in fact, they ran a lineup of Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell, Carter Bryant, and Keldon Johnson. And this lineup had its moments. It had its time. And then once Keldon Johnson started like being reckless and doing stupid stuff and turn the ball over, they switched him out for somebody else. And then once Carter Bryant didn't wasn't a positive on the floor anymore, he got out of there too. And they just started trying to mix and match all these things. And sometimes Fox was out there with these guys. Um, sometimes Harrison. There was a moment where Harrison Barnes was out there with the small lineup, and I was generally okay with this, like this lineup, especially going into the second half. I believe the Spurs were up, and it was in part because they were running and they were getting down the floor, and the Timberwolves had to match it with their small ball lineup, which they're pretty used to running. It was just Nas Reed and the rest of the guys, Io and Jaden, Julius. It was what they usually run when Rudy isn't out there. So it wasn't a foreign concept to it, but they hadn't seen this version of the Spurs without Wemby, so they were sort of caught off guard. Um, Coming into the second half, my first initial thought when thinking about something to say about what's going to happen next, because this was dire. You could go up 3-1 if you're the Spurs. There was a chance to go up 3-1 in the series, and um, my first initial thought was these next two quarters are a legacy 2 quarters for De'Aaron Fox. Because people have been clowning De'Aaron Fox like, oh, he's just the stand-in. He's not permanent in San Antonio. They got all these young guards they want to fit in. They want to, give time to. De'Aaron's not long for this team. De'Aaron has his own quirks and his own, stuff that he doesn't do well. And Spurs fans aren't satisfied with him, but they're okay with him. And I have been a De'Aaron Fox fan. I'm not as big as I used to be, but I did like him at Kentucky. I did like him in Sacramento. Um, and now he's here in San Antonio. And my initial thought was De'Aaron Fox has got to step up. And I hate using that terminology. This guy needs to step up. It's so like ESPN TV, like blank air, sort of stuff. But he did need to step up. It was important for him to step up. And to start the quarter, um, he injures his ankle slash foot, and he goes to the bench. They work on him. He comes back in the game, so he's fine. Um, Spurs managed to corral a lead, as big as I believe it was at that moment. It was like 6 points, maybe 5 points, which was a 2 possession game. Um, and this is when Carter Bryant and Keldon Johnson start doing bullshit. They didn't help in the minutes that they were given, and Coach Mitch Johnson yanked him, and he tried everything else that he could. And then it happened for the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards um, rose, risen, rose. I don't know the right terminology for that. he appeared. We'll put it that way. He appeared finally when they needed him most, and it wasn't just shot chucking. It was concerted, smart, get to my spot basketball for Anthony Edwards. He ended the game with 36 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers, 1 steal, um, 5 personal fouls. He left it all out there. And I don't think this was an empty the clip game for Anthony Edwards. I just think this was like, oh, I'm back sort of game, because he's been back, but like this is when they really needed him. This is when your star player steps up. Jaden McDaniels wasn't having a good game. Julius Randle wasn't having a good game. Surprisingly, the only guy that really helped in the fourth quarter, well, actually two guys, but more importantly on the scoring end, was Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert had like 2, 3 possessions where he just some easy dunks. He had some easy dunks, layups, putbacks, easy stuff. Ayo Dosunmu helped on the defensive end, but Ant was carrying the load, and Ant was back, and he looked great. And I want the Spurs to win this series, but man, did Ant look really good? He looked amazing. He looked so freaking good. Um, there was a moment in this game where after Ant has a little run, it was still probably during his run actually, where De'Aaron Fox was on Naz Reid, and De'Aaron Fox as a guard was holding his own against the big in Naz Reid, and Luke Cornett, who was playing a lot of minutes in the absence of Victor Wembanyama, was kind of like shadowing Fox and Naz Reid just to make sure Fox didn't get blown by or get posted up. And Naz Reid, no look pass, Rudy Gobert, bang, dunk. And that started a whole avalanche of despair for the Spurs. Just absolute avalanche of misery. They could not get control of the game again after that dunk. Um, and then Fox tries to go for a stupid gamble when Io got the inbound pass, and Io just blew by him. I don't even know if he made the basket, but he got a free throw out of it. Io did. Um, the Spurs did get a great trap in their desperation. They got a great trap. I believe it was 3 players on one. Or no, it was like Fox and Harper on one player. I forget who. It might have been on Io, but they got a really good stop. And then it came down to clock management. Literally like minutes and seconds of the game. It was like 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds left of this game, and Timberwolves played it beautifully. And the end of the game was all sorts of nonsense for the San Antonio Spurs. And I said this, man. I said this in game one. Oh, by the way, there was before I get to this, Mitch Johnson. I'm just gonna say right now, terrible, terrible out of timeout plays in crunch time. Terrible, absolutely terrible. He needs to refer to somebody else for his out of timeout plays at the end of games because it's just throw the ball in and throw the ball up. There's no like movement or anything. It's just get the ball in, which is stupid. So Mitch Johnson, I'm watching you. No, I'm watching you, and I know you're a bad coach in the end of games. Clean it up, buddy. Um, but damn, I don't even know what I was gonna say right there. I forgot. I'm sorry. But yeah, this game didn't end well for the Spurs. And I look back on game one, same opportunity. They didn't call the timeout. And they just went up the floor with like less than 10 seconds left or even 8 seconds left. And they threw up some BS shot. And I said in that video, I said in that first video, I was like, you might look back on that game and be like, we could have had this series wrapped up if we would have won that last game because this might go seven. And the series is tied 2-2. And it wouldn't be that way. You'd be up 3-2 right now. And you would be pretty comfortable with that. But here we are. Here we are. Is it 3-2? Yeah, 3-2, right? Yeah, no? No, 3. No, you'd be up 3-1. So, yeah, even better. But, yeah, it's not looking great for the Spurs. I just want to say this here at the end. I really commend the Timberwolves for not backing down, for getting through all the adversity that they have. Um, I'm not by any means saying let the Spurs win, but the Timberwolves, please, please, for the love of basketball, you're not going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. The only hope is that the Spurs will beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. Please, please don't mess that up. Please, I'm begging. I'm begging. I'm begging. If I could get on my knees right now, I would. I would beg. Please don't mess this up. Please, please don't. Um, let's roll back here to the last game I really want to talk about, and then we'll get into a quick hit at the end. Here, let's talk about the last quarter of Cleveland versus Detroit Pistons. Cleveland Cavaliers won this game 116. The Detroit Pistons 109. This was on WNBA opening day, so I put this on the back burner. I watched it back, and then I actually watched the fourth quarter live, but I watched the majority of the game back after it was over when I had some spare time. I joined in the fourth quarter, and to my surprise, Karis LeVert, who hasn't shown up all playoff this whole playoff run, played some okay minutes. 6 points, just enough. What looked like enough. Um, Danish Jenkins and Dennis Schroeder for the Cavs and Pistons respectively got into it again. They do not like each other. Um, the Pistons desperately, desperately want to be. What is this note I have here? What the hell? Pistons desperately wanted this. I guess is what I was trying to say. I made this note too long. Um, they wanted this. It was so close within reach. It was. You could taste it. You could smell it for the Pistons, and it got away from them in a game where Cade has 27, Tobias Harris has 21, Jalen Duran has 11, only 4 rebounds though. You do better, Jalen. Duncan Robinson has 15. Asor Thompson has 9. Um, the bench didn't really do a lot. Paul Reed had 11, and obviously, like I said, Karis LeVert had an okay fourth quarter. I don't know how he did for the whole game, um, but it felt like the Pistons maybe were in control. They just needed to like slow it down and be the more mature team with obviously the younger team, and they didn't do that. And they had some sloppy plays, but Cade was desperately trying to save them. He's looked amazing in this whole playoff run for them. Really a playoff riser, and I have to say there was another playoff riser on the floor that night. It wasn't Donovan Mitchell was there. He was there. He had 35 points. He was 13 to 24, but he was there. Um, it was James Harden, man. James Harden ended the game with 19, 3 of 7 from 3, 8 of 14 from field goal, 7 assists, 2 rebounds. I've sat up here for the last couple videos and I've said James Harden always disappears. He never shows up. He's this, he's that. And I have in my notes here Harden in the clutch. What is this? James Harden, I don't know what happened at age 30 something, for one game, at least for now, rose in the playoffs. He closed this game out beautifully for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Beautifully. If you told me this would have happened and I didn't see it live, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have told me, oh, I would have told you, you're a James Harden like fan, like you're making this stuff up, like this didn't happen. It did, and as much as I make fun of James Harden for not showing up, I have to give him a lot of credit for showing up in this game. A lot of credit. It was good. It was. I don't say it was vintage Harden, but it was game managing Harden. It was. I'm not scared of this time. There is no monsters under my bed anymore. I don't sleep with the lights on anymore, James Harden. That's what James Harden was. Um, and Cade kept going at him though, and just the time ran out, and James played it beautifully, like I said. And this was the James Harden abnormality game. This is the outlier of almost every other playoff series that James Harden has played. This one game was I was surprised with James Harden. So congrats to him. Congrats to the Cavs. They gutted this one out. They wanted this one so bad. They needed this one. And they win the first game in Cleveland. Maybe they can duplicate it. I don't know. Um, some other stuff for this Cavs team. I don't want to go over again, but Dean Wade, big points, not great. They played Dennis Schroeder 22 minutes, had 11 points. Max Strus had 7. Sam Merrill had 7. Hit 1 3, had a couple great moments. Yeah, Cavs win 116, Pistons 109, and then let's move on to this. Like I said at the top, the inevitable game. Um, Oklahoma City Thunder versus Los Angeles Lakers. You know the drill, guys. First half was good for the Lakers. It was good enough. Oklahoma was working it inside though with their bigs this time around. That meant Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren. They were getting down and dirty in there. And like I said earlier, the smart thing that the teams have been doing recently, and I think what the Thunder really revolutionized or brought back up, was just tipping the ball back out. You don't even need to get the rebound or record the rebound. just tip it back out so the team can get another possession. There was a lot of that, especially for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Um, More in this first half. Despite the Lakers and Rui's best efforts, Oklahoma flooded them with threes at the end of the first quarter. So it started with going inside in the first couple minutes of the first quarter, and then once the Lakers overreacted to that, the Oklahoma City Thunder started hitting threes. Um, Shea just got tossed around this game a lot. Shea did not play well in this game. He got tossed around. He didn't play his best. He was 7 of 20, probably the worst percentage I've seen him shoot in a while. Um, I in this game they kept saying Hero, and I was like, Hero who? They don't have Tyler Hero like the Lakers. The commentator meant to say Thero. Yeah, Abdu Thero played in this game. You know why? Because DeAndre Ayton couldn't do shit in this game. He couldn't do anything. Oh my God, DeAndre, and it's time. It's time, brother. It's time. You were the number one pick guy. 10 points and 6 rebounds, and getting outworked by Isaiah Hartenstein just because he wants it more is unacceptable. It's time. It's time to wrap it up. When you can't get playoff minutes, when JJ Redick literally goes to his bench and looks at his assistant coach and say, "I can't play this guy," that's something that actually happened. Um, you're done. This was an awful game for DeAndre and awful. Butterfingers, the whole 9 yards. Butterfingers couldn't catch an entry pass, couldn't catch a lob. Got eaten up by Isaiah Hartenstein, and yeah, just not something you needed from DeAndre. And at least he was serviceable at times during the last couple games, but this was awful. This was awful. Um, my note here also says the Lakers would rather play small ball than play DeAndre at some point. They just said, F that, we're not going to play it anymore. AJ Mitchell for the Oklahoma City Thunder just compounded every other mistake that the Lakers made. It's AJ Mitchell, AJAY Mitchell, by the way, not AJ. 24 points, 2 of 4 from three, 10 of 6, 10 of 17 from field goal, 10 assists. If it isn't one thing, it's another, and that's what's depressing about this Thunder team is you can stop Chet, you can stop whoever else, Chet Holmgren a little bit. When you get with these other guys like AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Kason Wallace, Jared McCain going off, you're just doomed. You're doomed. And that was the whole game. The second half Oklahoma City Thunder are a real thing because the Lakers had this at halftime, and then it just went away. It just went. There's nothing they could do. They couldn't stop the bleeding. They couldn't score. It was over. Um, and my last note here is the Lakers have lost like this all series, and there's just nothing they can do about it. There's just nothing they can do. I mean, like LeBron 19, Rui 21. Rui's going to get paid. I think he's a free agent this offseason. Rui's going to get paid. This has been a great playoff run for Rui. Austin Reeves 17 on the opposite side has been horrendous. He's probably not going to get that max contract that he wanted. Sorry, Austin. Marcus Smart maybe doing a little too much, but at least he's trying. DeAndre and we talked about Luke Kennard 18, really good. I'd bring him back. He's been really good, especially this playoff run. And nothing else for the Lakers, really, man. Nothing else. And that's your playoff wrap up, guys. Yeah, I feel like I always end on the Oklahoma City Thunder and Lakers, and it just makes me sad. And by the end, I sound really depressed. So I'm sorry if I do sound depressed, but it is the inevitable. Um, and yeah, we move on to tonight's games. Games. Let's see what we got. We got. Oh wait, oh boy, I'm hitting things. I'm hitting things tonight. We got Detroit versus Cleveland and Oklahoma versus Los Angeles. Um, Definitely Detroit versus Cleveland's gonna be way more interesting than Oklahoma versus Los Angeles. I wouldn't be surprised if Los Angeles rolled over a little bit. Um, but I do hope they Lakers can at least get one and extend the series by just one game. We just need one. We just need one. That's all we need. Going through these series, Oklahoma leads the Lakers 3-0. Timberwolves tie the series 2-2 with the Spurs. Pistons are up 2-1 to Cleveland, and the Knicks are the first team to advance to the conference finals, beating the 76ers 4-0 in the series. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching. The end screen should be playing right now. Check out the video on the left. Check out the playlist on the right. If you click my little icon right in the middle of the screen, a little subscribe will pop up, and you can subscribe with ease, like, and comment as well. We're making our way towards the conference finals, so stay tuned, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.